Hi, Julia Ridgmont here, and welcome to another episode of Julia Ridgmont Unscripted, where I give my readers the inside scoop about my projects and show them the not so glamorous life of a writer. Today I'm talking about research. Um, for right now, I'm in between projects still, so I'm going to be researching for my blacksmith story. I actually spoke to a guy who works as a farrier, showing horses, and he said he would be willing to show me how that's done. So I'm looking forward to actually going out into the work area and seeing that done sometime, hopefully in the next few weeks. Right now we're waiting for the weather to clear up. It's been pretty rainy around here. But right now, I thought I would talk about the Civil War and how that plays a part in some of my books. You know, when I'm plotting my stories, sometimes I will try to look at the big picture of what was happening in the country at that time. And in my country, I mean the United States. I usually am looking at the bigger picture and seeing what was going on during that time, or and most of my stories don't take place during the Civil War, but shortly after. Like the Pinkerton matchmaker stories, they take place in 1872. So the Civil War, it was over, but people were still reeling from it. They were still trying to recover from the devastation that happened there. So that plays a big part in some of my stories. Like, for example, an agent for Jessica. I was asking myself, okay, how old was Jessica when the Civil War was happening? Well, she was just a younger girl, and they were living right there in Virginia. And I was thinking, well, maybe her father could have been, he was a peddler, right? So he could have been uh, operating on the Underground Railroad. And so I just kind of thought that would be a cool idea to incorporate into my story on that end of it. I didn't have to go into a lot of detail to bring uh, some some of that enhancement into the story, and that's all you really need. Sometimes it's just a little bit of background information. The Civil War also played a part in Hope Springs Eternal, as you know, with Susanna's husband Sam, and his the raids that he was taking part in back in Missouri and Kansas back then. So there were a lot of things that were happening in the country around that time. It was kind of a volatile time in the U.S. history. Um, and the Civil War isn't the only thing that or event that I have used in some of my stories. In Emmeline's Redemption, um, I made it so that her family was part of the suffragette movement back in New York, and by this time they had moved out to Wyoming, and I thought that was kind of an interesting way of connecting history, because in Wyoming women got the vote before any other state. So I thought, well, why couldn't Emmeline's family be part of the suffragette movement back in New York? So when you're plotting a story, you need to be looking, especially for historical romance, you need to be looking at those events in history and seeing what was happening at that time. I actually do have two more Pinkerton stories that I'll be doing, but they're going to be happening later, a little bit later, like in 1878, 1879, 1880. So I'm not sure yet exactly how that's all going to play out, historical wise, but I think it's going to be an interesting twist there with the Pinkerton matchmaker stories, because most of them have taken place earlier in the decade. So just be looking for those later on this summer. And I just for right now, I just wanted to show you a little bit about how I use historical events in my stories. What do you think would be an interesting event in U.S. history to write about? Give me a comment down below, and let's see what you all come up with. Thanks. Bye.